Phill Cataldo, thanks so much for jumping on to join me on this week's edition of the Thoroughbred News. Before we get into why we're talking to you this week, for the viewers at home that aren't aware, what's the Phill Cataldo story? What's your story in racing in bloodstock?
Thanks, James. Great to be on racing.com. From an early age, racing was in our household. My dad owned racehorses from an early age, and school holidays and the likes, I'd go and work in the stables where our horses were, and formed a love and affinity with the animal, and then really caught the racing bug. And I married into a racing family. Our family business was fishing originally, and then through my wife and her family, got introduced to a more serious side of racing, as in buying and selling, and it went from there, really. That was around 25 years ago now.
And, it seems like you've developed quite a knack for sourcing horses out of your native New Zealand that have, come across and had great success in Australia.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way that I went about it was all about taking the horse to the buyer without them having to come here. So I suppose you'd say that I sort of pioneered videoing racehorses in New Zealand, and used to send them out on like the old VCRs around Australia, mainly to the leading buyers over there. With the video would entail the horses' trials and races, and then footage of it walking around, etc. And it just grew from there, really, James.
I want to fast forward to this weekend. I could probably sit here and talk to you for hours about, the honour roll and some of the horses that you've been able to successfully purchase and place into stables over here. But a couple that we see tackle the Group 1 Underwood Stakes, and that's a no mean feat in a field of only 6, is Mr. Brightside, a Group 1 winner, and also I'm Thunderstruck, a Group 1 winner. And you've had a bit to do with both of those horses. Tell me about it.
Yeah, Mr. Brightside, I bought him as a yearling at New Zealand Bloodstock at the May sale. It was for one of my great friends and former client, and Laurie Laxon. Laurie was looking for a horse that he could buy for a yearling and then turn over as a ready-to-runner. So, yeah, we managed to buy him for $22,000, which in hindsight's obviously a great bargain. From there, he went through the ready-to-run, didn't make his reserve. And then Ralph Manning was smart enough to buy him off Gavel House in New Zealand, and he had one start in New Zealand, ran a really good race. He was an unlucky 5th, and the Hayes stable snapped him up after that. I'm Thunderstruck, he had one trial in New Zealand. It was on a very heavy track in July. It was as a late 2-year-old. I think it was 7 or 8 in the heat, James, and he sat at the back of the field and went from last to first pretty quickly and won impressively. I mean, he was a pretty obvious one, to be honest, but being there on the day in the middle of winter, Johnny on the spot was able to secure him for OTI. In his trial, he showed a really good action, even in the heavy ground, and when you see him running now on top of the ground, he really does have one of the best actions of a racehorse you'd ever see. It's long and low, has a great stride length. But yeah, he had the physical attributes to go with it as well, James. He's a big, strong horse, not too heavy. All the angles are in the right place, and just a great mover in every gate, really. Winning Group 1s is obviously the ultimate. But no, extremely exciting watching both of those horses come through, especially Thunderstruck. I have a really close affiliation with the Price Kent stable and OTI, obviously. So, no, he's the ride that he's taken everybody on thus far is quite incredible, really.